One of our team members in our motorcycle dealership is responsible for training new folks when they take on a job at the front counter. One day I noticed her t-shirt. It simply said in bold white letters on a black background, "You're doing it wrong." I love that shirt. I love how people react to it. How would you respond if someone said, "You're doing it wrong," especially if they are referring to a core part of your job? Well, if your work requires compassion so that you are good at your job and you're getting tired of caring, I mean like really tired, fatigued, if you're experiencing what has come to be called compassion fatigue, and if a few days off isn't really enough to change that, you're doing it wrong. So have I got your attention? Compassion fatigue is something that people in helping professions talk about a lot. Big-hearted, mission-oriented, kind people are talking about compassion fatigue more because they're experiencing it more. They care a lot, but they're worn out from caring. So regardless of your career or your vocation, if you are experiencing compassion fatigue, you're dealing with stress resulting from the exposure to other people's suffering, other people's stress, other people's pain, other people's emotion, and most likely you're experiencing a lot of your own emotions resulting from the intense emotional reactions that people have to their own struggles. Well, that's compassion fatigue if it goes on very long. It's a little like a snowball of suffering mixed in with sticks and stones and drama rolling down a slope of unrealistic expectations that people have of you, or at least you think they have of you. You probably didn't think it'd be like this. Let that avalanche begin. So there you are, a compassionate soul in a profession or a vocation focused on helping people, and now you're tired. So it was way back in 1961, not that long ago if you're a tree, but back in the day, in modern times, a guy by the name of Bob Geldof, who was a psychiatrist and psychologist as well at the same time, coined the term compassion fatigue. Then fast forward to about 1980, Charles Figley defined compassion fatigue as the cost of caring. In the 1990s, it was Carla Joinson who used the term to describe the negative impact of that hospital nurses were experiencing from their daily exposure to patient suffering. She noticed that some of the nurses exposed to suffering started to exhibit anger and irritation and helplessness. They simply turned off their emotions in some cases, which she went on to say didn't easily turn back on when they went home or got around friends or were around people who were not in some way suffering or in pain. So compassion fatigue has been described as a cumulative effect of carrying other people's suffering day after day after day with little relief in sight. And it doesn't occur with just one or two bad experiences or protracted hard weeks or 1 or 2 days or weeks. The fatigue, the weariness, is real and it's cumulative. The idea is that you find yourself tired of caring for people. It's what some have called a secondary stress, or maybe have secondary trauma. Somebody is stressed or traumatized, and then you're stressed as a result of their stress or trauma. You may not personally be traumatized, but there is a vicarious experience of some sort that you have because of their trauma. Those 500,000 mirror neurons that we have in our brain that enable us to mirror the thought processes or even the behaviors or the mood to a very small degree of other people around us, that helps us kind of connect with other people, they go into high gear. But not everyone experiences compassion fatigue, which has always been intriguing to me. If you put two people side by side and have them experience almost exactly the same things for the same period of time, and they have the same values and the same mission and the same purpose over the same period of time, one of them may experience compassion fatigue and the other does not. Moreover, through long-term study, we found that the one of them that does not in short-term experience compassion fatigue may never experience it. So why does one of them have a difficult time and the other does not? So let me be blunt. If you're experiencing compassion fatigue, I do have compassion for you, but you're doing it wrong. If you're experiencing compassion fatigue, it's likely that you are focusing on the emotions of the situation, the intensity of the other person's suffering, and their potential future suffering, rather than on the actions that you can take to help them right here and right now. You may be focusing on what is actually out of your control. What if the compassion fatigue that you're feeling results not from the experience or the circumstance, but from what you are carrying and how you are carrying it? What if you're carrying what is not yours to carry? It's the experience, the circumstance, even the trauma itself is external to you. Most people who report living under the weight of genuine compassion fatigue do so as a result of how they think. First, about compassion itself and what it looks like in their profession, and second, about what their role is, or what compassion is supposed to look like when they have it. Compassion fatigue may be your experience because of how you think about what compassion actually is. It's not the circumstance or the experience that creates the fatigue in most cases. It's how you think about it. So let me be frank and blunt with you. If you were sitting right here, I'd pour you a nice cold drink and we'd have a great chat about this. If you're experiencing compassion fatigue and you're not able to get out of it and you've been in it for a while, it's not because you care too much, but because you care about the wrong things. Let me kindly unpack that for you. It's highly likely that you're experiencing this compassion fatigue and that the problem is in your coping mechanisms. The most important coping mechanism of all that you and I have is how we think about something. It's our mental model about something. Thinking wrongly, therefore, about what compassion is will often result for you in compassion fatigue. So here's the key idea. You're seeing someone's suffering, and you, and perhaps other people, have an expectation you should be able to relieve their suffering, to genuinely help and help now. It's important to wrap your mind around this. You think you're supposed to be able to take away that person's pain and suffering and that you're supposed to be able to help, but you can't. And you're exposed to that mental model over and over again. I should be able to fill in the blank. One of the ways that we increase our load and set ourselves up for this compassion fatigue thing is we carry what's not ours to carry. Maybe you're allowing people to outsource their responsibility to you. Remember, they are responsible, no matter how intense their suffering, for whom they trust, for their perspective, how they choose to look at something, and they're responsible for their own behavior. You are not. You cannot be responsible for those three things. They are. Also, it's possible that you think that in order to be caring and to be effective, you have to feel that a person you're caring for feels the same things that you do, or you feel the same things that they do. Feeling what they feel, or feeling as much as they feel, must somehow mean you care. Somehow, feeling what another person feels in detail and in quantity who is suffering is, you think, a sign that you actually care. But that, my friend, is a flawed mental model, and it's going to set you up for compassion fatigue. So the central idea is this: caring, compassion, is in the action. It's in the deed, not in the emotions. Compassion is action. We do compassion. So let's wrap up this video, which is part one of a two-part video about compassion fatigue. And I want you to think about this as we do. Here's what we've learned. Every professional who does not experience compassion fatigue has figured out a way to genuinely care in action, with good judgment, with their decisions, with their behaviors, without turning on the emotional empathy switch or without turning it all the way up. You can do that. You can care a lot about somebody and about what they're going through and about what they're experiencing without letting those neurochemicals of fear and the neurochemicals of sadness course through your own veins. Because the way we help is not by feeling what other people who are in hard times are feeling. The way we help is by making good decisions about them and about their circumstance, by having good judgment, by having, in short, compassionate actions. The person who's going to go through the storm doesn't need us to feel what they feel. They need us, and they need other people like us, to do the compassionate thing, to take the compassionate action, not to feel what they feel. So that's a lot to think about. Next time, we're going to talk about how you do that and about how to carry what is yours to carry and therefore be genuinely compassionate. I know, your work can be hard, but don't make it harder than it needs to be by taking on the responsibility for other people's work. There you go. Have a great day. See you next time.